Hello everyone, welcome to the Rooster's Den. I'm Jaime Hernandez. Today's Commander Deck Tech will be discussing another one of the upcoming Sony PlayStation secret layers that'll be dropping in a few weeks. But before I tell you what it is, you know what to do. Hit the music. Today's deck tech comes from one of my favorite PS5 games, Horizon Forbidden West. But before we get into it, if you like my content, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe, it really means a lot. The commander we'll be teching today is Aloy, Savior of Meridian, a 3 blue-green, 3/5 with vigilance and reach that reads, "In you, all things are possible." Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control attack, discover X, where X is the greatest power of creatures you control. Discover is an ability that reads, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card with mana value equal to or less. Cast it without paying its mana cost or put it into your hand. The rest go on the bottom of your library in any random order. So Discover is just a better way to cascade. You attack with, let's say, a 7/7. You exile the top cards of your library until you hit a non-land card with mana value 7 or less. Can put it into your hand or cast it without paying its mana cost and put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in any order. Flavor wise, this fits Aloy to a T. In the game, you take control of creatures in the game and they fight for you. And the Discover mechanic works like she does. When she takes a creature down, she uses the machine and repurposes its parts to make something better. The purpose of this deck is to cheat out a very large army of very big creatures and overrun your opponents with an army of mechanical monsters. We start off with the only planeswalker of the deck, Ugin, Eye of the Storm, whose static ability reads, whenever you cast a spell, exile up to one target permanent that has one or more colors. Whenever you cast a colored spell, exile up to one target permanent that has one or more colors. So with this deck, you're going to be casting a lot of artifact creatures and a lot of artifacts, so you're going to be able to just clear the board, exiling them instead of destroying them, so they'll never see the light of day again in the game. His +2 reads, gain 3 life, draw a card. His static 0 reads, add 3 colorless mana. And his -11, if you can get it off, search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, then shuffle. Until end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying your mana costs. If we get that ultimate off, expect your opponents to scoop and quit, because I don't see them winning the game after that. Now we go to the creatures, where we have 23 of them. 17 of them are artifact creatures, 6 of them are non-artifact creatures. We will start off with the non-artifact ones. First one, Displacer Kitten. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to one target non-land permanent you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. We're going to be having a lot of creatures with ETB effects, so the fact that we're going to be casting a bunch of non-creature spells in this deck as well, we're going to be able to bounce those creatures and get those ETB effects triggering multiple times, which is awesome. Ice-Till Explorer. You may play additional lands each of your turns. You also may play lands from your graveyard. It also has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, mill a card. Once again, we're going to be playing a lot of fetch lands, search lands, destroy lands, so the fact that we can recur them from the graveyard and repurpose them is super awesome. Thassa, Deep Dwelling. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to one target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. This is just another creature, or it's an enchantment that will become a creature that's just like the Displacer Kitten, that just basically helps you double the ETB effects of multiple creatures that you control. Next one, Avenger of Zendikar. Whenever Avenger of Zendikar enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 plant creature token for each land you control. It also has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant creature you control. Jingataxis Progress Tyrant. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Do this once each turn. Whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. Do this once each turn. Craterhoof Behemoth, a win con in the deck. Whenever Craterhoof enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. If your board is big enough and you discover into this one, you pretty much win the game automatically. Now we jump into the artifact creatures, which are the lifeblood of the deck, which synergize with the commander perfectly. First one, Ornithopter of Paradise, mana ramp. Steel Overseer, who reads, Tap. Put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature we control. This helps grow our smaller artifact creatures bigger, so whenever we have Aloy on the battlefield, we can discover into bigger things. Surge Engine. The more mana you put into this creature, it gets unblockable, then grows, then you're able to draw cards. Foundry Inspector, a cost reducer for your artifacts. Liberator Urza's Battlethopter gives all your colorless and artifact spells flash. It also is a flyer that grows whenever you cast larger mana spells. Solemn Simulacrum, mana ramp. Canotep Spider, a flyer that draws a card whenever a non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, or artifact creature I should say. Kappa Cannoneer, whenever Kappa Cannoneer or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Kappa Cannoneer. It can't be blocked this turn. This is just another way, if we can get an artifact on the battlefield, when Kappa's on the battlefield, it gets +1/+1, unblockable, we can swing in for free and then discover. Worm Coil Engine, a 6/6 with lifelink and death touch that when it dies creates 2 3/3s, one with death touch and one with lifelink. Mirror Battlesphere. When this one enters, create 4 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature tokens. When this creature attacks, you may tap any untapped mirrors you control. If you do, Mirror Battlesphere gets +X/+O until end of turn and deals X damage to target player or planeswalker. That's pretty good. If we can blink this, we'll just get another 4 every time we blink it at our end steps. So during the next combat phase, Mirror Battlesphere will just get larger and will deal more damage to face automatically. Thunderjaw, aka Meteor Golem. When this creature enters, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls. Once again, if we blink this, we just destroy something awesome. Cityscape Leveler. Whenever you cast this spell or whenever it attacks, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tap Power Stone token. Another great thing to blink. Maelstrom Colossus, an 8-drop with Cascade. Diamond Weapon. This weapon costs 1 less for each permanent card in your graveyard, and it has prevent all damage that would be dealt to Diamond Weapon. Just a nice little card that allows you to attack each turn so you can trigger the Discover mechanic without ever having to worry about it dying to blockers. Phyrexian Transform, a big creature that when it dies creates more creatures. Triplicate Titan, a 9/9 flyer with Vigilance and Trample that also, when it dies, creates more creatures. Finally, FASBOR7 Horus, aka Blightsteel Colossus, a one-shot win con that everyone loves to see hit the battlefield. Next we go to the sorceries. We have 9 of them. Farseek, Nature's Lore, 3 visits and cultivate all ramp spells. Fabricate, Artifact Tutor. Season of Greetings. This card does a little of everything. Card draw, +1/+1 counter giver, and an artifact and enchantment destroyer. Season of Weaving. This allows you also to draw a card, copy an artifact you control, or remove the entire board of any non-token permanent. So if we have a bunch of tokens on the battlefield, we can use it for its little 3-paw ability, wipe the entire board except for our tokens, which is pretty awesome. Time Warp and Alron's Epiphany, both giving you extra turns. If we can discover into this when we're attacking, we just get an extra turn and get to discover again, which is pretty awesome. Now we go to the instance. We have 10 of them. Worldly Tutor, Creature Tutor, Heroic Intervention and Tyvar Stance, protection for your creatures. Fierce Guardianship, Counterspell and Swan Song, all counterspells. Nature's Claim and Beast Within, removal. Return of the Wild Speaker, card draw, and Nexus of Fate, another extra turn giver that gets shuffled back into your library once you cast it. Next we come to the artifacts. There are 16 of them. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet and Felwar Stone, ramp. Herd Heirloom, Thran Dynamo, and the Great Henge. More ramp with upside to each one of them, a little different. Herd Heirloom allows you to give a creature trample and draw if they have power 4 greater. The Great Henge, whenever a creature enters, gets it a +1/+1 counter, and you get to draw a card when a creature enters, so those are pretty cool things. And Thran Dynamo just taps for extra mana. Regalia, aka Talran Soul Cleaver, equipped creature has Vigilance. Whenever another artifact creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature. Scroll Rack, pay 1 and tap. Exile any number of cards from your hand face down. Put that many cards from the top of your library into your hand. Then look at the exile cards, put them on the top of your library in any order. This card can help you manipulate your deck to make sure you discover into the correct thing that you want. Swiftfoot Boots, protection. Simulacrum Synthesizer, a win con. When this card enters, scry 2. Whenever another artifact, mana value 3 or greater, enters the battlefield under your control, create a 0/0 colorless construct token that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. This card can get out of the way pretty quickly if not dealt with, and we have tons of artifacts and artifact creatures with mana value 3 or greater, so this is pretty awesome. Encroaching Microsynth. All non-land permanents you control are artifacts in addition to the other types. That counts for anything that's not on the battlefield as well, such as your library. Unwinding Clock. Untap all artifacts you control during each player's untap step. Conjurer's Closet. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then you return it to the battlefield under your control. Just another way to blink things. Genji Gloves. Equipped creature has double strike. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, if it's the first combat phase this turn, untap it. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Just another way to double discover. Shamil, the Inner Sun. Spells you control cannot be countered. What else do you need to say about that? At the beginning of your end step, you may discover 5. With some plus side, I see. Finally, Microsynth Lattice. All permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types. This is just a way to guarantee that every one of your creatures could potentially discover if for some reason we don't have a discover, an artifact creature on the battlefield at the time that Microsynth Lattice hits the battlefield. Then we come to the enchantments. We have 6 of them. Up the Beanstalk. Allows you to draw a card when you cast a spell of mana value 5 or greater. Garruk's Uprising. When this enchantment enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Also, whenever a creature you control that enters the battlefield with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Also, creatures you control have trample. Just a way to get through any pesky blockers. Primal Empathy. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Nature's Will. Whenever one or more creatures deals combat damage to a player, tap all lands that player controls and untap all your lands. Asceticism. Creatures you control cannot be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. Just another way to protect your creatures. Unnatural Growth. At the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. Finally, we come to the lands. We have 34 of them. Ancient Tomb, Archway of Innovation, and Boseiju Who Endures, Botanical Sanctum, Breeding Pool, and Buried Ruin, Command Tower, Demolition Field, Dreamroot Cascade, Evondo, Waking Heaven, Evolving Wilds, Fabled Passage, Field of Ruin, Gaia's Cradle, Hinterland Harbor, 4 Forests, 4 Islands, Manamo, School at Water's Edge, Mistrise Village, Misty Rainforest, Mosswort Bridge, Otawara, Soaring City, Shifting Woodland, Spire of Industry, the Mycosynth Garden, and Tropical Island, Utharos, Titanic God Core, and Yavimaya Coast. And that's it, guys. That's my Aloy Savior Meridian's deck tech. As you can see, this deck has multiple ways to win the game. One of them is overrunning the board with a bunch of creatures, and another one is just to discover into extra combat phases so you can just continually attack the creatures till you get a big enough board to where you can overwhelm your opponents. Either way, the deck looks to overrun your opponents and win the game. If you've made it this far, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe. This is Jaime Hernandez with the Rooster's Den. Talk to you guys soon.